This week on HomeKit News, the Thorbolt X1 smart lock with thread. Welcome back everybody. Today we're looking at a new device that I've had on test for around 6 weeks now, the Thorbolt X1 smart lock, a deadbolt typically used in North American homes. This is an exclusively Apple Home compatible device, and just like the company's unique MK1 smart doorknob, this uses HomeKit over thread. A quick look on the side of the box shows the ways in which it can be controlled, starting off with Apple HomeKey, which is a must for smart locks these days. You can also use Siri on all of the devices that have Siri, although with HomePods you do need to confirm via an iPhone or Apple Watch when unlocking. You can use the company's own Sleekpoint app, which we'll be looking at later in the video, and the X1 has a built-in fingerprint reader, which makes it easy for those without an iPhone or Apple Watch. There's a built-in keypad for use as either a secondary entry method or for non-permanent guests or users, and if all else fails, you still have standard keys as a backup. Just to note that for Apple HomeKey, as long as you have an iPhone XS or later, you can make use of this feature. For Apple Watch, you'll need a Series 4 model or later. I'll just share some specs for the X1 now, so pause the video if required. This uses HomeKit over thread, so it's not Matter compatible. It uses 8 AA batteries, although it can actually run on just 4. At present, it's only available in black or silver, but space grey and titanium finishes are coming soon. There's a ton of stuff in the box this time, all laid out here, starting with a template for cutting a hole into a brand new door if you have one, along with a manual and additional documents. There's a strike plate and a strike box, if required, a set of screws for the strike plate and inner assembly, as well as a pair of backup keys. You have the inner and outer assembly for the lock, of course, and lastly a latch assembly and a mounting plate for the inner assembly. Taking a closer look at the X1 now, and I've been testing this one out that's in black, which I think looks very slick, with both the front and sides in a matte black finish. Just for comparison, here's the silver model, which whilst from the front is the same, has silver trim around the edges. The inner assembly for all models is going to be black. Now in my home I've run out of doors to install this lock, so I've resorted to having it set up on this demo door for the time being. As you can see, I've got 6 of the 8 batteries installed, and as previously mentioned, it can actually run on 4. I'll put in the remaining 2 batteries anyway, and when you install the batteries for the first time, the lock will make a long beeping sound. If it doesn't, you just need to press and hold the reset button here in order to factory reset the lock. Once you hear the beep, it's all reset. When the X1 is first set up and before being added to your smart home, any fingerprint will actually work, which ensures you don't lock yourself out halfway through the installation. You can also lock the door with any fingerprint, and this also applies to the keypad, which allows you to add any passcode to unlock the door. At the top above the keypad is a dedicated NFC area that is solely for Apple HomeKey. This ensures that you don't accidentally trigger the keypad when tapping your iPhone or Apple Watch. I'll quickly add this to Apple Home now, but just as a reminder, you will need an Apple Home Hub with a threadboard router to get full use out of this lock. If you already have a smart lock with Apple HomeKey, this will use the same passcodes for you and others that use it, and once installed, you can see it as a standard smart lock in Apple Home. Let's quickly test out Apple HomeKey and the fingerprint sensor, and as expected, it works like a dream. And if you don't have a lock with HomeKey, it's fantastic. You can also lock the door with HomeKey as well. Once in Apple Home, until you set one up, the fingerprint reader no longer works with any finger, as you can see here. For this, you'll need the Sleekpoint app, which incidentally doesn't require you to set up an account. The lock will automatically show up here after being added to Apple Home. Once inside the main page for the lock, head to Manage Access and you can then start adding users. This necessarily starts with a passcode and will then move on to a fingerprint option, which is optional. In this case, I'm naming the finger or thumb I'm adding, so my left thumb in this case. You then follow the on-screen instructions, placing your print on the sensor for a total of 6 times, with each of the 6 having to be successfully registered to count. That's all done and was completely painless. Just for the record, all prints are stored on the device with no data stored anywhere else. Onto the keypad now, and you activate it by tapping or stroking the display like so. I can add my 6-digit passcode and the keypad is very responsive, and if I want to lock it manually I just tap on the padlock icon on the keypad. That'll stay illuminated for a little longer. I can also disguise my passcode by tapping numbers both before and after the actual passcode, and it works perfectly. If you do need to use a key for whatever reason, you simply open the panel here for quick access, which also has a USB-C port that I'll demonstrate in a bit. The lock has a rubber grommet for additional protection from the elements. Now, one question I've already been asked is, can this be rekeyed? Now, although I've not tried it myself, the company did send me a short video showing how to replace the whole cylinder, which looks very easy to do. So if that constitutes rekeying, then the answer is yes. One other minor point is that unlike a lot of smart deadbolts on the market, both halves of the X1 match up in terms of their position. In real life this isn't a big deal to many, but for some I guess it's more aesthetically pleasing. Quickly going back to the Sleekpoint app now, and you can see the X1 is listed here alongside my Air Versa air purifier, which also uses Thread. Tapping on the lock gives me a basic interface to control the lock, but you also have the Manage Access feature to add users. You can also have access to lock activity, which includes locking, unlocking and anomalous use, like someone unsuccessfully trying to add a random passcode, for example. You can also adjust the timeout before it auto locks, or you can simply turn it off, so effectively in passage mode. You can also adjust the sensitivity of the keypad if you find it overly sensitive. There's a lockdown mode that stops the keypad from working if an amount of unsuccessful attempts occur. If you don't use the keypad, HomeKey or fingerprints, you can actually disable any of these to reduce battery usage. You can even set the timeout length for the keypad itself, so if you want it to stay on longer, you can do so. All very customizable options. In terms of reaction times, if you operate the lock from your phone, they're typically pretty responsive. It's just as responsive in the Sleekpoint app as well. If for any reason you're caught out by the batteries dying and you don't have the keys to hand, you could potentially still unlock the door with your iPhone, as long as it's an iPhone 15 or later and you happen to have a USB-C to USB-C cable. As you can see here, I've taken out all the batteries, so there's zero power for the lock as it stands. Now if I switch the lock to the front section, what I'm going to do next is get my iPhone and connect the iPhone to the lock with the aforementioned USB-C cable. Just to show you there's no power, the keypad is still unresponsive. So a few seconds after connecting the phone to the lock, the keypad should light up with a long beep. After that, the lock is effectively working again and you can use the keypad or the fingerprint to unlock the door and replace the dead batteries. If you use this in Apple Home, the Apple Home displays, amongst other things, the battery levels, but also has a thing called Manage Access. This allows you to generate a passcode that you can then pass on to someone for use with the X1. You don't get the customization found in the Sleekpoint app, so if you want to stop the use of a passcode you've generated, you would either delete it or turn it off. On to the pros and cons now, starting with Thread, which is rapidly replacing Bluetooth in locks, and not too soon in my opinion, so I'm glad to see it being used effectively in this one. For an Apple compatible lock to be released without HomeKey these days would be insane in my opinion, so this is another plus point. The separate area solely for HomeKey is great and doesn't seem to impact the size of the lock at all, so this is a standout feature in my opinion. USB-C charging is more common in locks now, but the placement in this case makes it a lot more accessible than some. As for the fingerprint sensor, I really like the choice to place it to one side. In a world where everything seemingly needs to be symmetrical, it was also brave to swim against the tide, so to speak. The sensor is also fast, by the way. The only small downside is that it doesn't offer matter, but if you're only into Apple Home, it really doesn't make any meaningful difference at this time. All in all, just like the company's smart latch lock, this is a reliable and good looking lock that has been easy to set up and use. I just wish I had a door to place it on. So that's our take on the Thorbolt X1 smart lock. If you're looking at getting a new lock, does the fact that this doesn't offer matter a deal breaker? Are there other locks you prefer, for example? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you've got any questions on this or any of my other videos, ask away and I'll always reply. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, show some love by giving it a like, share if you can, and do subscribe if you haven't done so already. It just remains for me to leave you with this week's words of wisdom from none other than Jay Leno. See you next time.